Hello, the purpose of this short presentation will be to illustrate a manufacturing supply chain that's globally based. In this case, it's the supply chain used by Lego um, as of at least a couple of years ago to supply products to consumers. Now, the reason I say a couple of years ago is like any organization, supply chains go through transitions over time, and so this may not be exactly the way the supply chain looks today, but it certainly does give a good overview of what a supply chain looks like. So here, let me create a pointer. So here we start with raw material, and for Lego, raw material is mainly ABS plastic, which comes in little plastic pellets that are already colored. So they arrive at the production facilities, and here the production facilities are, at least many of them, are located in Eastern Europe. And the production facilities mainly are injection molding machines that mold plastic into those little Lego bricks that you're all familiar with. Then those Lego bricks are shipped mostly by boat, but sometimes there needs to be some expediting and they're shipped by air to a packing facility, which say is located in Mexico. And at the packing facility, they do two main things. One is that they take the plastic bricks and they put them in those little cellophane bags that you're probably familiar with if you use the Lego products. When you buy them, there's a box with those bags in them. Those cellophane bags are packed, and then eventually groups of those cellophane bags are put into the box with the, instructions and all those kind of things. Now, there's also suppliers for the packing facilities, to say here the foil for the those cellophane bags and the cardboard that's used for the boxes. After the Legos sets are packed, they're sent to a warehouse where they're held until the planner decides that they need to be sent to a retailer. So they're sent by retailer, most likely by truck, and they may be sent to a large retailer like Walmart or a small retailer like a corner toy store. And in either case, then consumers will actually buy those products from the retailers. And it's important when we talk about customers of within a supply chain, well, you may think of these people down on the bottom right as being the customers. Certainly they're the users of the product, so we can very often call them the end users. And I like to use the word consumers because they're actually consuming the product. But really all throughout this system, we have supplier-customer relationships way back from the beginning. This plastics molding facility is the customer of the supplier of the raw material. And the packing facility is the customer of the plastic molding facility. The large retailer would be the customer of the warehouse or the packing facility, whatever, however you want to think about that. But the point is that really, from Lego's point of view, these are really the customers that they generally think about when they're creating the demands and they're creating production plans. Not that they don't care about the consumer, but these are really these are the entities that order products directly from the manufacturer. Now, I want to just to make this even more clear, just take you step by step through what some of this looks like. On the top right, we see the Lego headquarters in Billund, Denmark, and at that facility, again, they use ABS plastic, which looks like this. Oops, sorry about that. Which looks like this. And again, they come in colors already, and that's going to be important because later on when we talk about the ability to aggregate demand for products in certain ways, the fact that the ABS plastic is colored on arrival limits the kind of things we could do to aggregate the demand for plastic pellets, but much more on that later. Then we use a die inside of a molding machine. So here's the die on the bottom right, and here's the molding machine. The die kind of is in this section here on the bottom right. So the bottom left and the bottom right show the die and the injection molding machine. So this is the mold, this is the die. You can see here, you could imagine what this is. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, there's four, no, there's three knobs. One, two, three knobs. One, two, three knobs. So each of these are what, like in Lego jargon, you'd call a 1 by 3 brick. And you can, you've seen those, I'm sure, when you've used Lego products. Okay, so we have the molds, and the molds are put into a molded machine, or they're made in very large batches. And so at the end of the machine, you see that the bricks are dropped into a bin here. These are blue Lego parts. At the beginning of this injection molding system, you'd actually see a huge funnel with all the ABS plastic. In this case, it would be blue ABS plastic, and they would be extruded through they're essentially heated and melted and then put into the mold and then held for a few seconds to solidify and then dropped into the bin. Then they're stored in a huge warehouse within the manufacturing facility until they're ready to be shipped. So when we talk about buffers, this would be a location for inventory buffers. Then we put the Lego bricks on ships to send them to Mexico. Again, in some cases, if there's a shortage, we may expedite the shipments by putting them on an airplane. There are actually cases, I don't know if this happens at Lego, but there are actually cases in other organizations that I know of where we actually have to buy a ticket um, for the shipment of these products, because the fastest way to get them there is to put them on essentially a commercial airline. So then when we get to the port, from the port in Mexico, they are shipped by truck to the packing facility. Again, they're put into a inventory in the packing facility until they're ready to be packed. As I said earlier, they're put into these cellophane bags or foil bags initially, and then the foil bags are put into a warehouse again. They call them pre-packs at Lego, and then they're packed into boxes of various sizes. So you see there's many opportunities here to store the products in inventory, and this is one of the strategic aspects of supply chain management, supply chain planning and control, is where do we keep this inventory and how much? And there's no one answer for every type of organization. Depends on the product, the customers, so forth. Then they're shipped by truck from the packing facility to a warehouse, which might look something like this. Then they're bought by retailers, who again are customers of Lego, such as Walmart, and then eventually purchased by consumers. This little child here, maybe the child didn't purchase it, but you get what I mean. And one of the reasons that you might distinguish between large retailers and small retailers is because of, you might say, the power of the retailer. In the old days, retailers did not have a lot of power, and manufacturers kind of had a lot of power in that relationship. Well, for retailers like Walmart and Target, the power dynamic has shifted a lot in the last 20 years. So one of the things that companies like Walmart and Target will do, and this is certainly not unreasonable from a consumer's point of view, is they will essentially take new products and almost, you might say, test market them in real time. So for example, you've been to a lot of these stores and you'll see that in the aisles, for example, or at the head of each line, they will have a certain product that they're showcasing, usually a new product. And what they will do is they will put that product at that showcase location, and they'll watch it for, say, a week. And if it sells very well, then they'll place a huge order with the manufacturer, and then they will make that part of their normal product that they sell. If it doesn't sell well, they may essentially change their mind and not go with it at all and tell the manufacturer that they don't want it anymore. So from a manufacturer's point of view, attempting to forecast what's going to happen is very, very, very difficult. And what many manufacturers will do is get caught in a situation where they may just make a little bit of every product and hope to replenish just for the products that Walmart needs. But Walmart wants such quick turnaround that that's really hard to do. You really need a responsive supply chain. If you're really looking for cost effectiveness in your supply chain, and therefore you have longer lead times, sometimes this really gets you in a bind, because you end up for example, you may end up just producing a lot of every product because you figure that, okay, you'll guess right on one of them or two of them or three of them, and the rest of them you'll just sell to a discounter like the dollar stores or something like that. And I know that Lego, you don't see Lego at the dollar stores or anything like that, but you get my point that this is what a lot of manufacturers do. So the relationship between the retailer and the manufacturer is actually really critical to supply chain management. Okay, so that's just a brief introduction to the supply chain at Lego to illustrate a manufacturing supply chain.